Welcome to the most important place in the universe. This is God's throne room in heaven. Revelation 4 and 5 describe this place with incredible detail. We have 24 elders and 4 living creatures, a sea of glass. It is a breathtaking scene, but it's easy to get lost in the imagery. And that is why I created this diagram as your visual map of God's sacred space in heaven. In this video, we are going to take this map and walk through Revelation 4 and 5, identifying everything we would see as if we were in God's throne room. A room which, of course, exists right now up in heaven. So, download this chart in the description below, hit subscribe, and let's join John the Apostle up in the clouds. Revelation 4 opens with a voice like a trumpet, shouting out an invitation to John the Apostle, saying, "Come up here, come up to the throne in heaven, and I will show you what must take place after this." This invitation is critical for understanding the rest of the book of Revelation. The entire book, everything that we see, we are either up in that throne room or we're in the throne room looking down at what is taking place on the earth. Let me show you what I mean. How the book of Revelation is going to alternate between being in heaven or on earth, up in heaven or down on earth. Beginning with a vision of the Son of Man up in heaven, walking among the 7 golden lampstands of the churches. And this follows with a description of the conditions on earth of those churches. Then in 4 and 5, we're up in heaven again, in the throne room with the Lamb on the right side of God the Father. But that's also where the seals are opened, unleashing judgments down on the earth in 6 and 7. But that's also where the 144,000 are sealed. They are sealed down on the earth, but not so with the great multitude. You see, the 144,000, they are sealed on the earth, but the second half of chapter 7, the great multitude is standing before the throne up in heaven. And then the rest of the book is just going to alternate back and forth between the 2 witnesses down on the earth in the city of Jerusalem, and then the great dragon up in heaven among the stars. Down to chapter 19, the marriage supper of the Lamb in the beginning of that chapter, and then it's going to transition to the second coming of Jesus to the earth. John the Apostle gets a front row seat to all of this. He gets to watch it all take place from his observation deck up in the throne room, which I like to think of like Star Trek. The throne room in Revelation 4 and 5 is like the bridge of the USS Enterprise. In any given episode, they're going to go to this planet and fight with these aliens or go back in time and fix some timeline. But every episode is going to start and it's going to finish here on the bridge of the USS Enterprise. They go off and do something, but they always come back here. And the bridge, it's going to contain a certain set of known objects and persons. So we have Captain Kirk, he's here at his captain's chair. And Sulu, he's here at navigation. We got Lieutenant Uhura here in the back at communications. And Spock, I'm sure Spock is somewhere at science and navigation. Here's the navigation window in front of the captain's chair. Well, the same is true for the throne room in Revelation 4 and 5. It's going to contain a certain set of persons and objects. And we are going to see that space with increasing detail as we walk through the book of Revelation. John enters this throne room for the first time in chapter 4, and he's going to do so through a door. There we go. There's our door. John's going to walk right through that door into the throne room. This big space left of the line, that is our throne room. And what does he see as he walks through that door? Well, at once he was in the Spirit, and there was a throne. That's going to be our throne, okay? This big blue box, that's our throne, a throne up in heaven. But there's one who's seated on the throne, and John could see him. And the one who sat there had the appearance of jasper and carnelian. And all around the throne, look at this, there was a rainbow that had the appearance of an emerald. But that was pretty. And around the throne, there were 24 more thrones. And seated on those thrones were 24 elders all around the throne, in the throne room of God. And these guys, they're clothed with white garments. They got golden crowns on their head. Ooh, look at this. From the throne came flashings of lightning, rumbles, and peals of thunder. This thunder is going to be repeated several times throughout the rest of the book of Revelation. And before the throne, there were 7 burning torches like fire. Now, we're probably meant to think of this like a 7-lamp menorah. So kind of like the golden lampstand in the tabernacle or the temple. So I got a little 7-pointed star. And we're told that these torches are the 7 spirits of God. That's interesting. Well, before the throne, there was a sea of glass, like crystal, super reflective, probably reflecting the light from the menorah. And then around the throne and on each side of the throne, so both left and right, there were 4 living creatures. Ooh, I wonder what these guys look like. Well, these living creatures, they had full of eyes in front and behind. The first living creature, he was like a lion, and the second like an ox, and the third had the face of a man. The fourth was like an eagle in flight. And what were these guys doing? Well, the 4 living creatures, each of them, they had 6 wings, full of eyes all around. And night and day, these 4 living creatures never cease to say, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." Did you notice how everything in the throne room is described in relationship to the throne? So everything is either around the throne or before the throne or coming from the throne. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at these prepositional phrases in Revelation chapter 4. I have them highlighted in gray. So of course we have the one who is seated on the throne, but then there's a rainbow, and the 24 elders, they are around the throne, both of them. And then coming from the throne is lightning and peals of thunder. But before the throne, that is in front of the throne, we have that menorah, the 7-torch menorah, and the sea of glass like crystal. And then of course those 4 living creatures, they also are around the throne, but they're described on each side of the throne. And then those elders, they're going to come back too. They are going to fall down before the one who is seated on the throne and cast down their crowns before the throne, saying, "Worthy are you, Lord and God." The throne is the center of everything. You see, God is king, and kings, they sit on their thrones. Well, what else is in the throne room? I mean, we got our main characters here introduced in chapter 4, but we can fill out the occupants of this space a little bit more as we walk through the rest of the book of Revelation, starting with chapter 11, where we read that God's temple in heaven was opened. Now, isn't that interesting? God's throne room is described as a temple. And what's inside of the temple but the Ark of the Covenant in God's throne room up in heaven? Now, this shouldn't surprise us because Exodus 25 and Hebrews 8 teaches us that the tabernacle and the temple on earth were patterned after the heavenly realities of God's throne room up in heaven. Take a look at this in Hebrews chapter 8. Where we read that Moses, when he was going to build the tabernacle, he was instructed by God that he should make the tabernacle according to the pattern that was shown to you on the mountain. There's some kind of pattern which he saw, a picture or a pattern of the true tent, which was up in heaven. The tabernacle, the throne room of God in heaven, which was set up by the Lord and not by man. Because the one that was set up by man on earth, that was just a copy or a shadow of heavenly realities. And therefore, everything that we learn about the tabernacle and the temple down on earth, it has some kind of pattern or heavenly reality which it corresponds to in God's throne room. That's just fascinating. So there's an Ark of the Covenant in God's temple up in heaven, and we got more thunder blasting out from the throne. So that's chapter 11. In chapter 8, we read that there is another angel who came and stood at the altar. Now, there's a couple interesting things about this. First is this other angel. Now, it seems as if there are some permanent members, permanent residents of God's throne room in heaven. Guys like the 4 living creatures, the 24 elders, these guys are always there. They stay permanently in God's throne room. But then there are other beings which are more like passing participants who come into the throne room, interact with God, and then leave from the throne room on some kind of task or errand. And this other angel seems to be one of those passing participants. He's called a mighty angel sometimes. And this other angel is going to come and stand at the altar. So this is interesting. So in God's temple in heaven, we have an Ark of the Covenant and now an altar as well. Now altars usually, those are where you offer sacrifices. So are we sacrificing animals up in God's throne room? Well, of course not. You remember that in both the tabernacle and the temple, there is an altar of incense. So let's keep reading about this altar of incense. So this other angel is going to come and stand at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of the saints. On the golden altar before the throne, there it is, it's in front of the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints is going to rise before God from the hand of the angel. And then the angel is going to take this censer and fill it with fire from that altar and throw it down on earth. And what's going to happen? There's going to be peals of thunder and rumblings of lightning and an earthquake as well. Well, let's open up to chapter 6 and see what it tells us about the throne room. Specifically, right after the 5th seal, where we have the altar is going to be referenced again. Yep, we know what the altar is, but there is something underneath the altar. What's under the altar? Well, it says that the souls of those who had been slain are under the altar. There they are. We're going to put them right underneath the altar. And what are these martyrs doing? Well, they are crying out with a loud voice saying, "O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you judge and avenge our blood? For we are martyrs." So we have martyrs here in chapter 6, and then we have more martyrs in chapter 15. Take a look at chapter 15. "And I saw what appeared to be a sea of glass." Yep, sea of glass, we recognize that, "mingled with fire, and also those who had conquered the beast." How did they conquer the beast? By dying, by remaining true to their faith and its image and the number of its name. And they were standing beside, that is, next to the sea of glass with harps of God in their hands. Here are our martyrs standing beside the sea of glass. And what are they doing with their harps? Well, they're singing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Let's look now at another group of passing participants. These are beings who come into the throne room and then go out. This time in chapter 8. And it's right after the 7th seal is opened. And when it is, there is silence in heaven. Now that's pretty crazy because we read in chapter 4 that the 4 living creatures, they never stop saying, "Holy, holy, holy." But now, when the 7th seal is open, there is silence. Silence in heaven for a half an hour. What's going on? Well, when the 7th seal is open, 7 angels are going to show up. 7 angels who stand before God. And the 7 angels are going to be given 7 trumpets. The seals turn into trumpets. Well, let's look for some more angels. Let's go on the hunt for more angels. We got 4 living creatures, 7 angels, a mighty angel. I bet we can find some more. This time in chapter 5. So in chapter 5, where John, he's up in the throne room. He's going to look around in the throne room and he's going to see the living creatures and the elders and then the voice of many angels. Now, how many angels do we got? Myriads of myriads, thousands and thousands of angels. And it should surprise nobody that these angels are saying with a loud voice, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive," and count with me now, "to receive power and wealth, wisdom, might, honor, glory, and blessing." 7 attributes. Now, this is called, these attributes, a glory catalog, and there are actually 5 different glory catalogs scattered throughout the book of Revelation. And we're going to see the next one in chapter 7. Take a look here. After I looked, I saw and behold a great multitude, so great that nobody could number them. And they're from every nation, tribes, peoples, and languages. And they're standing, this great multitude is standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They're dressed in white robes, they've got palm branches, and they are crying out, "Salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne." And all the angels, they're joining along with the great multitude, standing around the throne along with the elders, 24 elders, and the 4 living creatures, and they're all falling down before God, and they're saying, "Blessing and glory, wisdom, thanksgiving, honor, power, and might be to our God forever and ever." I mean, isn't it amazing to imagine that happening up in heaven right now? Well, a careful student of the book of Revelation will notice that I left out a pretty important character from this throne room scene. Now, you remember, in John's first trip to the throne room, in chapters 4 and 5, he is weeping. And why is he weeping? Let's look at chapter 5. Well, we have the one who's seated on the throne, and in his right hand is a scroll. And then the mighty angel's going to show up. We know who that is. Here's our mighty angel. And he is going to proclaim with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and to break its seals?" And John starts weeping. And he's weeping because no one is found who is worthy. And John knows that inside of that scroll contain God's good purposes for the world, his plan to set everything right and to bring about his kingdom, but no one is capable, no one is worthy to enact that plan and to rule over the world as its king. That is, until chapter 5, verse 6, where we read that between the throne and the 4 living creatures and among the elders, this individual is even closer to God than the living creatures and the elders. Why? Because he is between the throne and them. And who is it? It is the Lamb who is standing as though he had been slain, and he is going to walk right up to the one who is seated on the throne. He is going to take the scroll and say, "I can open the scroll. I can break its seals. I can rule over this world as its king." And then everyone in the throne room, they scream out, "Worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals." Why? Because you were slain, and by your blood you have ransomed a people from all nations. Now, let's get this worthy one back on the throne, back beside at the right hand of God. For he is worthy to take the scroll and to rule over this world as king forever and ever. All right, let's do a little review. So we know now that the Lamb is there at the right hand of God, the one who is seated on the throne. And this whole throne room, it is like God's temple in heaven. And therefore, there is an Ark of the Covenant there, and an altar of incense, and a menorah, a 7-torched menorah, and a sea of glass, just like Exodus 24. Take a look at that chapter. And a rainbow is going to be emanating out from the throne. And John, he is going to enter into this throne room through a door and see lightning shooting out from the throne as well. But when he comes through the door, he's going to see a lot of other people, a lot of other individuals in the throne room as well, including 4 living creatures, 24 elders. We got 7 angels. Another mighty angel is significant as well, making a lot of important proclamations. And then the martyrs will sing and praise the Lord as well, along with the great multitude and the myriads and myriads of angels. Now, all of these geometric shapes are helpful for us to know what is in the throne room, but they don't really help too much in visualizing what they all look like. And therefore, I found this picture online, which I actually think is quite helpful. Take a look at this drawing. It's pretty good. We have the 24 elders here. They're all falling down before the one who is seated on the throne. And they have their bowls of incense. Here are our 4 living creatures, the eagle, the ox, the lion, and the man. Each of them have a harp. And then, of course, we have the Lamb who's seated at the right hand of him who was on the throne, and he has a 7-sealed scroll there in his hand. And paradoxically, we have both a rainbow and lightning just shooting out from the throne. That is God's dwelling place now. And it was the model or the pattern for both the tabernacle and the temple. Now, you know that Moses saw that pattern up on Mount Sinai. He saw the tavnit for the throne room of God. But did you know that David also had access from the hand of the Lord to that same tavnit, to that same pattern? Now, if you want to see how 1st and 2nd Chronicles are going to add 7 chapters to Samuel and Kings in order to present David as the true temple builder and not Solomon, you should check out this next video.